Well, there's the headline. Dan Wetzel, fine columnist for Yahoo, says Mel Tucker is likely done at Michigan State. His rise to power is matched by this fall from grace. And it's a really interesting story. Michigan State has known about the story as we bring in our own Natalie, fantastic producer on talent extraordinaire from Brother from Another.
Thank you.
Michigan State has known about this story for a while. USA Today came out with a report, and because of the USA Today report, Michigan State then makes the move to place Mel Tucker, the football coach, on leave with an unpaid leave. Hey, we knew about this, but new information has come to light. And as Michael Smith said yesterday, what's the new information? The new information is that USA Today is reporting it.
Yes.
There was no new information. You just got called out on it. And so now everybody's saying, what are you going to do? And now Michigan State says, we're going to put him on a leave without pay. He's got a 10-year, $95 million contract. They finished number 10 last year in the nation. They lost 2 games. Program going in the right direction. And then this drops. Natalie, these stories are always complex when you're talking about adults at the corporate level in romantic sexual relationships. What was your first thought when you heard about this story between Mel Tucker and a person who said, look, this was an unwanted romantic attention, and Mel Tucker did some things that I didn't approve of?
Yeah, I mean, I had very mixed emotions, but I think the biggest sentiment is disappointment. I feel disappointed. I think it's important that people understand how investigations work, because I actually used to conduct these types of investigations. And when you're looking into matters like this, not Title IX per se, but just allegations of sexual harassment, when you're looking into matters like this, it's a fact-finding exercise. So the investigator is just trying to determine what they can corroborate and substantiate and what they can't. Everything that gets alleged is put in the report, and then you say, I can substantiate this and I can substantiate that. This couldn't be substantiated. And then you'd make a credibility assessment, right? And the credibility assessment is of each person you talk to. And so right now, based on everything that we've read, the information that was released, Tucker doesn't look very credible. And she seems to be more credible. And I see people online discussing things like...
By the way, let me just interject real quick. I should have said her name, Brenda Tracy. Brenda Tracy,
Brenda Tracy, sorry.
She's an activist, and she has spoken to numerous colleges, college football teams and other sports teams about violence, about the violence and how violence on college campuses and the steps they need to do. Mental and physical steps they need to do to avoid being in those situations. I'm sorry, go ahead.
And the reason she does this is because she's a victim herself. She was a victim of rape. And so she now is an advocate, and she has this program, and she goes around and she works with various schools, right? So you just have to question the judgment, right? Like, not even on a matter of, okay, well, is it real? Did he do this? But just the judgment and wanting to even get into this kind of relationship with this person, right? And then, like I said, there's a credibility determination. I was incredibly disappointed by what I read. And I would like people, and Rita, I'm sure you can attest to this, but I would like people to sort of think of this from a woman's perspective, which I know is hard, because I see people saying things like, well, because, in the report, it says, like, she didn't get off the call when the activity that he's alleged to have done when they were on a phone call occurred. She didn't get off because she was just stunned. She was shocked. She didn't know what to do, right? And that might seem really extreme to people, but if we even take it back a step, right? I've been in situations professionally. She's thinking about her business, right? She has a business now, and she has relationships with schools. And even before it got to the point of that phone call, he had done things that she wasn't comfortable with. So some people may say, well, why didn't she speak up? But a lot of times we don't speak up because I know I've had people in this industry in my past job when I worked in sales, clients who made advances at me, who said things about my looks, my body. And I just sort of like brushed it off, laughed it off because I didn't know if it would affect business. I'm trying to come up in this world. I want to have credibility. You need men to be your allies. And so sometimes we put up with things that we may not like because we feel we have to, and that's a very helpless feeling that I think sometimes people can't understand. So I don't know that that was the case for her, but when people are questioning these things, I just want people to understand that this is something women, professional women, go through in all industries. And there's all these things going through our minds that affect the decisions that we make.
I completely agree with everything that you said in that regard. And so we know that since then, Mel Tucker has come out himself, which is something that I don't remember too many people doing when they're being accused of something. But he came out and made a statement and said that this was a consensual relationship that both of them knew that they were a part of. And there's three things that I want to bring up in that regard. Number one, obviously, if that's true, because he claims that they texted and she called him at night numerous times, technology will allow him to tell his side of the story, if that's true or not, right? We live in a world that you can trace these types of things. So if that's true, I'm sure that he can be able to give the type of evidence that he needs. But number two, I'm with you, Nat, in that regardless of whether or not it's consensual or not, the judgment here is so poor that I don't understand. You're Mel Tucker, right? And look, we're not going to deal with his background because allegedly he claims he's separated from his wife. And so that's fine, whatever. But choosing a lady that you started with a business relationship with, just to me is so poor in taste and poor judgment. And also knowing the type of relationship that you're asking her to come in from a business perspective. I don't understand why you felt the need to do that. And then lastly, there's an unwritten responsibility I feel that Mel Tucker has to be better, to make better choices. You don't have that many black head coaches in the Power Five. Off the top of my head, guys, I can only think of four. Him, Dion, Marcus Freeman, and James Franklin. I'm sure there might be more. I don't know off the top of my head. I'm telling you that those are four guys that I can tell you, and then everybody else, you would have to tell me, and I'd be like, oh, okay, I forgot about that person. The point is that it's not many of.
I think it's Mike.
Oh, thank you, and Loxley, thank you,
and then at Syracuse as well.
Okay, so
Dino
6.
Babers. Yeah.
We named 6 out of hundreds and hundreds of programs that exist. So you have a responsibility to represent the head coaches that look like you to be better than the people that don't look like you, because you don't have these types of opportunities that come, every day, like a Dabo Sweeney, like anybody else. You have to fight harder for what it is that you have to do. So your lack of good judgment, to me, is worse than it's just as bad as the accusations that's being put out there. If it does come out that this was some type of mutual exclusive relationship that they had, why? That's my biggest question. Why? Why her? Why not find somebody else and do these types of things that don't have an effect on what it is that you do on a day-to-day basis? So now you're here and we're here having this conversation.
And listen, what you just said, why her? Why him? Lots of people have said that in relationships that they don't understand from the outside looking in. We got to be honest about that. That is a question that many of us have asked. Now, Reeta, you bring up an important point, and I think it's just, in all fairness, to be thorough here, to have this real conversation, I think we have to say, if his judgment is poor, if he has made decisions that are not wise, and yet he has not done anything criminally wrong, then, okay, just accuse him of poor judgment, but not of doing anything criminal. Okay, that's one thing. But if he's guilty of both, if he's guilty of poor judgment and sexual harassment, if he did do all these things that Brenda Tracy says that he has done, okay, that's a different conversation. And I think a lot of this because of where he coaches, not just his position as head football coach at Michigan State, but where he is. He's at Michigan State, and so they've got a history of kind of protecting people and quieting things. And so if I'm Mel Tucker, and if I haven't committed a crime, I said, well, wait a minute. Don't try to put me in the same conversation as Larry Nassar. You know, Larry Nassar was he was a criminal. He used his position to sexually abuse, sexually harass, kind of children for 20 years.
Yep.
And so Mel Tucker thinks he's in a consensual adult relationship. He may be telling the truth. He may be lying. I don't know. But Larry Nassar is in a different category. I just wonder if we're even capable at Michigan State. Are they capable of doing the thing that Natalie says investigations are designed to do, and that is find facts? Are they in there to find facts, or have their minds been made up because of where they are? They're in Lansing, Michigan, at Michigan State, and there are a lot of layers to these kinds of stories.
And a lot of money on the line. Let's be clear on that too.
Right.
It's a lot, $95 million. So there's that.
The investigator would be a third-party investigator, typically a law firm, and usually people who have a lot of experience in investigations. And then it's up to the school to make a determination based on that. But I just want to be clear that with Nassar, that was criminal because it was children, right? Like sexual harassment, just because it may not be criminal, right? It can be a civil matter. I don't think it should be really treated any differently or taken any more lightly just because it's not criminal if it's determined that they can prove that it was sexual harassment. With respect to what you said, Rita, in terms of, things will be able to be proven, it has been noted that they both deleted certain text messages. And that's why I kind of spoke to, and again, I'm not trying to offer a defense for her, but that's why I sort of spoke to sometimes, though, at least from a woman's perspective, what people go through, but not just women in general. Like I've interviewed tons of clients, men and women, employees, when they do something, and sometimes they get rid of things because they don't know, they're scared. They think they're going to get in trouble, so now the record has just been corrupted. So it's not going to give the investigator a full picture. All they can notate is that certain things were deleted. This is where the parties agree. This is where they disagree, So that's why the credibility determination is so important. We'll see what happens in this matter. But just to your point really quickly about him being a Black coach, it's frustrating because it's not a responsibility that we should have to bear. Like when we do things, we shouldn't have to worry about it, but we do. And we all know that. And I know it's unfair, but it's any Black person in any position. And the higher you get, the higher that goes, the larger the responsibility. So that's why it's just so disappointing that you would do this and exercise this judgment, especially when you consider it being Michigan State and what already happened there. I mean, it's inexplicable, really, to be honest.
Allegedly, though. But let's make it. But see that.
But to me, even if it's consensual. But my point is, it's inexplicable even if it's consensual, and that's what I'm saying. Like, this is why companies have so many.
I think consensual changes everything. I think consensual changes everything, though.
It doesn't.
Obviously, it changes it from being abuse. It changes it from being from being abuse to being consensual. But the poor judgment is still there. I think is what Nat is saying.
But Natalie, how can you say that? Natalie, how do you say that?
I'm gonna tell you why.
Everything.
I'm going to tell you why, because this is why workplace relationships, and I consider this a workplace relationship because she was a vendor, the school did relationships with them, however you want to classify her. But the reason these kinds of relationships are so complicated and why many companies have policies against them is because the question of consent becomes very subjective because there's power dynamics at play. There's reasons why someone might consent. And when you have to go back and look at it, like she may have been consenting to certain things because like she thought, okay, I want to keep this business because it's good business and it helps my company, right? And I don't know that. I'm just saying, just like a superior, when they get into a relationship with someone who is not on their same level, it's the same thing. They say, oh, it was consensual. There's just so many power dynamics at play. So that's the poor judgment I'm talking about.
But Natalie, but this is a little different. I could say I would agree with you.
And she's a rape survivor, Michael. She's a rape survivor.
Yeah. Well, okay. I'm not going to get into that yet, but I will say we had a conversation about this time last year. Honestly, it was surrounding Ime Udoka.
Yes.
And somebody who worked for it. So he worked for the Celtics.
Yep.
This person worked for the Celtics. Okay, that power, all the things you said, power dynamics, same work relationship, same work site, for lack of a better phrase. In this case, Mel Tucker is not Brenda Tracy's boss. There are no power dynamics involved because that was one of many. We just said it. That was one of many businesses that she had the relationship with Michigan State. It was not like, hey, Michigan State is my sole source of income. I don't think of him as her boss. You do?
It doesn't have to be your boss. It's a matter of that's why I use.
Well, how do you?
Well, that's why I use the example of business dealings, right? We don't know how much of her business that accounts for, and it's like in the report. One of the things that's alleged is like she was scheduled to do a session or meet and do something for them, and he canceled that. That's one of the things that's alleged, that he canceled it. Now, initially during the investigation, he said, yes, I did cancel it because allegedly her assistant had disclosed things that he had discussed with her and he was upset about it. Now he's claiming that he didn't cancel it. But that's the whole point, because now it starts to affect with your business. So there is still a power dynamic at play because this man represents a university and he has the ability to help fund her business.
Yeah, but I'm saying it's not I got that part. This is not, but I don't think it's the equivalent of working at the same place, because it's not, it's one of the tributaries going into her overall business. And not to say, oh, we can just get rid of one, you got 75 others, but it's it's not the sole. It's not the sole employer. That's not her sole employer. So I just think it's just a little different. It's not apples to apples. There are some dynamics, I'm sure, at play, but it's not like they work together and he can shut down her entire economic operation just by the snap of his fingers. So look, we don't know. We don't know what the real story is. I do feel, this is where I agree with most of what you two are saying. Where I disagree with you, Natalie, is if we find out that this was a relationship that they had going for a while, both of them, they had a relationship and the relationship went bad, which a lot of them do. A lot of them just don't have nice, smooth landings and say, okay, this relationship has run its course. You're going to go your way. I'm going to go mine. Most of the time, they do end in a way where one person is dissatisfied. But if we find out this was like, that was his girlfriend, she was his boyfriend, or whatever, boyfriend-girlfriend relationship, I think that changes everything for me. Doesn't mean that he displayed great judgment, but it changes the whole tenor of this conversation.
Yeah, but I just want to remind people that consent can be revoked and changed. It's not like everlasting. Yes. And also, when you're in relationships with someone, your partner can still violate you, can still assault you, can still do things that you're uncomfortable with. So the fact that at some point they could have had a consensual relationship doesn't completely just change the landscape. It wouldn't change if something that he did later became uncomfortable for her. Well, it wouldn't change those things.
Natalie, I'm 100%. I agree with that, but I'm saying, but if the way you just described it would be a different version of what's been said, because what's been said was that it was never romantic.
Right.
Like Brenda Tracy said, oh, no, it was never like that. It was one-sided. So if that comes out, if it comes out that at one point it was romantic and then the dynamics changed, well, the story has already changed. I just think, put it this way, I'm not taking any sides. I've learned over the years that I can't jump in. I cannot jump in and say, he's wrong, she's wrong. I need more information before I can come to a solid conclusion of what happened. I'm not sure what happened. I know it's a mess, but I'm not sure who's at fault. I don't know. And if that makes me a bad person for just not automatically believing it, well, I just need more information. That's all.
Particularly when he came out and said that it was consensual. So we're getting now two different sides of the story. So I think you want to know what the actual truth is now, because there's two different things that are being said. She's making it seem like that it was something that happened. He's making it seem like that this was something that they were doing on a regular basis. So I think that that's why you feel like the dynamics would change and shift, because if she omitted that they were in a relationship, there becomes a credibility issue, for sure.
Right. But he's already since come out, contradicted things he's already said. So we'll see.
Hey, thank you for watching Brother from Another. If you haven't hit that subscribe button, go ahead and do that now. Don't forget, you can catch us 3 to 4 weekdays on PeacockTV.com and on Sirius XM Channel 85.